Hi, and thanks for logging on to the Daily DVAR Halacha. And here's a brand new halacha for you, and it's for Monday, 19th day of September, 16th day of Elul. Here we go. Today, more continuing halachas on how to get forgiveness from people when asking for forgiveness for full repentance before Yom Kippur arrives. If the person that you need forgiveness from is your Rebbe, your Torah teacher, and for whatever reason he probably wants to teach you a lesson and he resists giving you forgiveness because what you did was a great chutzpah to your own Rebbe, and he says, come back and ask me again. And even if your Rebbe does this to you many times, you don't stop at number 3. Your Rebbe's probably trying to teach you a lesson. For sure he's trying to teach you a lesson. And you need to ask him as many times as necessary, even if it's a lot. Okay, so that's a tough one. But again, don't you, any one of you, decide, well, I'm so-and-so's Rebbe, so I'm going to make him grovel in front of me. If you're about to think about doing that to someone, check with your rabbi who you trust whether you're worthy of doing such a thing to another person. Your Rebbe, who's a great Torah person, assuming he is going to know if it's appropriate to do that to you. And if he does, ask forgiveness as many times as he wants you to. You need that forgiveness, and your Rebbe's teaching you a lesson, and you need that lesson also. If you owe a friend money and your friend doesn't know about it, you have an obligation to tell him, by the way, I owe you money and you forgot about it. Tell him that. Tell him that. Okay, if you're not sure if you owe someone money, yes or no, then ask a rabbi. Ask a rabbi what to do. Tell him the situation. Explain it very clearly. Now to the mincha that's right before Yom Kippur. It is appropriate at that mincha to say al chet, that's the full vidui, full confession of sins, and to say that before Yom Kippur starts, at the mincha that happens erev Yom Kippur in the afternoon. The reason is because we fear that there's a small possibility that a person could choke and die at his big meal that he's eating before Yom Kippur, and then he would die without full repentance. That would be truly a great tragedy, and therefore the greatest of tragedies, and we want to make certain that that can't happen. So you're supposed to do full repentance of al chet and everything before you eat your meal. So that would be at the mincha on erev Yom Kippur in the afternoon. The appropriate spot in Shemona Esrei to insert it is after the phrase Yihiyu L'Ratzon, before the paragraph Elokai Nitzor. Here's a touchy one. Let's say 2-3 years ago you had a certain big sin and you repented, like, wow, you cried and did the al chet and asked God for forgiveness, and now it's 2016 and you want to address this year's sins, and that big thing that happened 2 years ago, you're like, I'm done with that. I cried my eyes out over that 2 years ago and I'm done with that. So that's not how it works with the creator of the universe. You would say again, and please forgive me for that thing of 2 years ago. You never forget it. If God, that's a great gift that God gives you when he allows you to be forgiven, and you beg forgiveness always. You bring your broken heart in front of God, and don't be ashamed of it. Just bring your broken heart in front of God, and if you had something big go on in 2014 or 2012 or whatever, mention it again, ask forgiveness again. That would be fully appropriate. At the Suda Hamafsekas, it's going to sound like of lesser importance, but it's still a mitzvah. Do not eat foods that are not easily digestible. Anyway, it's a great piece of advice, but it's also part of the mitzvah. You must make certain to not mess up your fasting by eating things that are going to mess up your fasting at the Seudah right before Yom Kippur. So think it out, speak to people who know about what are good kinds of foods, and probably you don't want to be eating spicy foods, and probably you don't want to be eating junk foods that fill you up but don't do a whole lot for your nutrition. Make sure to eat things that are easy, digestible, proper, and helpful to the fast in general. Thanks for logging on. Log on again tomorrow for more. Bye-bye.